Imagine finding yourself in a situation where you're a point down in the match, and that too against the super solid Vidit Gujrathi. It's really not an easy situation to figure out how to play the must win situation, must win scenario game. But Adhiban has a wonderful attitude towards chess. He's always very aggressive, he believes in himself, and the must win games are like a testament to his philosophy. Like he keeps saying, don't give up, keep fighting, and all of this. And he feels like, okay, this is a must win game, I must give my best. So, at the third round of the World Cup, when Vidit had already won the first game, Adhiban was trailing 1-0 in the match, and this is how it began. He started with c4, he did not play b3. I think c4 is a good opening to get a complex game in general. This theory, but it's not like a theory where everything gets exchanged. Like for example, if Adhiban would have played e4, I'm sure Vidit would have responded e5 there. Or if he would have played d4, he would have played the Ragozin or the Nimzo Indian. So c4, c5, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, knight c6, e3. And here Vidit went for the move e5. When Adhiban played d4, Vidit took and played d5. Now when this was played, Adhiban sank into thought and he made his next move after nearly 5 minutes. Could be that he was trying to recollect something, could be that he was already out of his preparation. And that's when I felt that Vidit's prep for this game was very smart. This line has not been played much. It has been played between Gelfand and Dominguez in 2021 and also between Sethu Raman and SL Narayanan in the AICF qualifier tournament. But the move in one game, CD5 was played between Gelfand Dominguez, Bishop E2 was played in Sethu Raman SL. Here, Bishop G5 was played between Adhiban and Vidit. So BG5, now Vidit took on D4. We reached an important moment in the game. Should White take knight takes D4 or should White play knight takes D5? Now knight takes D4, Bishop E7 leads to quite a fine position for Black, no problems. So Adhiban went for knight takes D5. I liked Vidit's next move, he played Bishop E6. Here we had Indian in the commentary who mentioned that you could just play Bishop D3, take, Queen takes, and just then castle and claim for compensation. The king is in the center still, and it might not be easy to castle very quickly. But what Adhiban did was he played Queen B3. Now Vidit first takes, and here if you take Queen D5, maybe Adhiban wants to play Bishop C4 check. If you give Bishop C4, if check, then King D1, and already White is better because there is this coming up. There is this. This is just typically what Adhiban wants. CD5, Bishop B4, and here I was like, okay, maybe Adhiban brings his bishop back, then it gets exchanged, then with it takes here. It looks like Black is doing fine. He's a pawn up, no problems. But AD is AD. The beast played king to D1. And he's like, okay, I'm fine with keeping my king in the center. With it took here on D5, and now the bishop came out. So what has happened is that the Black king is still in the center. White king has lost his right to castle, but the important thing is that this check might create a lot more damage for the Black king than this check could do for the White king. Queen D7 was played. Okay, in this position, I think it is an important move, Queen D7, because F7 is hanging, so you have to go back. And now a nice Bishop B5 move, because he wants to take and play Queen B4. Of course, there are other ways to continue the game here, which is to first take, and then go Bishop B5, which would be more accurate. When he went Bishop B5, here Vidit had a strong resource, and that was to play Knight to D5. It not only prevents Bishop F6 and the doubling of pawns, but also protects the bishop here on B4. And if Vidit had played this, he's better, like say for example A3, Bishop A5. The game continues, like for example Queen A4. See, here you could also go Bishop E7, by the way. A3, Bishop E7. And then if he goes Rook E1, then you can castle, and black is better. This knight is defending e7. But if you went bishop a5, then I saw this very nice move here after queen a4, which is to play bishop c3. Because if you play bishop b6, then there is rook e1 check. The problem. But bishop c3, and if you take here, then knight takes c3, and there is a fork. Such moves not easy for humans to see, of course. Like for example, even 95 would scare a human being here, but somehow the engines say after bishop b2, knight takes d7, knight c3, the position is fine for black. Unbelievable. Okay, but Vidit went queen d6, and this was a very natural move. As Surya Ganguly said in the commentary, that this looks pretty fine. You come out of this pin, knight e5 is no longer a threat, and you save your bishop. Adhiban played a3. Now, he wants the bishop to go away from this diagonal so he can give a check. Vidit said, no, I'm staying here. Take on f6. He had to take with the pawn. If you take with the queen, I take bishop c6. And now after queen c6, there is knight e5. The queen has to move and there would be a check here, or this is hanging and white wins. So b takes c6, queen a4, and white has excellent compensation here. So gf6, queen a4, threatening to take and take, bishop b6, and now rook to c1 was played here. White is putting pressure on black, but with it went rook c8, and I liked Adhiban's next move. Can you find out what did he do with white? This is the phase of the game from where Adhiban made no single mistake. You know, he played beautifully. So let's try to learn from it. First, he went king c2. Look, this is pinned for now. So Adhiban was like, let me first keep my king safe on b1 with it castle. Now, although the king is looking safe here, like no pawn, no piece is reaching h6, or you know, the knight here coming here looks difficult. Still, it is a king which has a broken structure in front of it, and that's why after king b1 felt like this position, just very interestingly, fe5 and bd3 is slightly better for white, although he's a pawn down. Now, this is a perfect example of when there are opposite colored bishops on the board. What is more important is the initiative, the ability to attack your opponent, not material. And you will see this really well. This bishop, as Arvind Chidambaram said, is like a dead piece. You know, it's hitting his. So, in effect, white is almost a piece up here if black doesn't play well. So, taking all of this into consideration, here Vidit felt like he would be able to draw this game. And that's why he didn't get desperate. But maybe e4 was already a thing to consider here, like bishop e4 and d3. I know that it might be a bit too drastic at this point to give up a pawn, but look at this, bishop is so happy, smiling here. He has the open diagonal. But rook c1 was played, and now this move f5. I think this move started problems for Vidit, which he later could not solve. But it's difficult to kind of recommend something like queen e6 could be one idea. The other one is king g7. But overall, I mean, white's plans are not too difficult. He can just reroute his queen here. He can play f3. He can even push on the light squares. While black is passive. So f5, Adhiban said, I'm stopping e4 for the time being. King h8, queen b5, queen e7, queen d5, centralizing the queen and threatening really rook e1 and all trouble down here. So rook d8, removing the queen from there, queen b3, e4, takes, and now of course you can't let these pawns change the color and activate the bishop. So Adhiban played rook e1. Now this pawn is hanging, so e3 was played. Once again, black has this beautiful central passers, and he could be just clearly better, but not here because of the opposite colored bishops, and this bishop is beautiful. Rook f1, and I think here with it had to play rook f8. Exchange the rooks And yes, white still has the initiative in spite of the rooks being exchanged, but king g7, and I think Vidit would have held this. Or even here, rook d7 could have been okay. But the move king g7 was not great because queen d1, now I'm threatening queen g4 and queen h5. e2. Vidit became a bit nervous here. He was like, okay, let's give a pawn at least. Try and hope that later I can give this pawn up as well and activate my bishop. He played bishop e2. Of course, what Vidit would have been very happy with is take, take, and this is a draw. Bishop e2, rook f8 now. Giving up another pawn does not make any sense because after bd3, this pin is not decisive. The queen can move away with queen g4 check. And so it's, and also if you go king h8, there is rook f3 defending and white is better. So rook f8 was played, and here is the question to you. What should white play? I really loved Adhiban's next move. So it showed what tremendous form he is in. If you take here, let's say queen takes or even king takes bd3, then this position is better for white, but black has decent chances to a draw. So what Adhiban did is, he's like, I need to keep my rook on the board to create threats against the king, and he played the move rook h1. It's a very nice move, and it's the best move, and I would give it a double exclamation. Rook e1 is met with rook e8, and suddenly this is pinned. Rook g1 is met with d3, and this bishop attacks the rook. That's why rook h1 is the correct move. King h8, bd3, bishop a5, and now queen to a4, attacking the bishop on a5. And also the pawn. So this bishop wanted to reroute itself to d2, e3. That's not happening. It was pushed back. Rook c1, rook is activated. Queen e3, defending the bishop. Queen e6, queen b4. The rook is hanging right now. Rook e8, rook f1, queen b5, bishop c5, rook f8. And now you see the same rook exchange which could have been done earlier now is done with the loss of a pawn. So Vidit is losing this position. Queen e7, check. And Adhiban's technique was pretty good. g5, and a little bit trick here, a little bit of a trick. You attack the bishop and also this. So goes back, takes, check, g6, queen e4, king c7, bishop e4, queen d7. And here, Adhiban realized that going into the bishop endgame is a win for him, because he can create a passer here on the queen side. The king will have to go and try to stop it, and then his king can start going here and then win this. So just to see how it happens in action, like in the game. a4. So this configuration of three pieces is set. Now white creates a passer on the queen side. And here Vidit resigned because this pawn will net the bishop, and then the king will come back, take this pawn, and then eventually queen this pawn. What a very nice game by Adhiban. I really liked his fighting spirit. I really liked the way he played. He equalized the score 1-1 against one of the most solid players in the chess world. And now it goes into the tie breaks where, anything can happen. Just about, I don't even see a favorite here who can win. But we'll have a good time following these two champions, India number 3 and India number 4. This is Sagar Shah signing off. Bye bye.